situation with local Communist Party and government officials, as well as evacuees from the area. The official Soviet news agency provided few details of the visit, beyond saying that the three men discussed ways to eliminate the focus of the breakdown and to restore normal conditions in the area. Meanwhile, another Politburo member, Boris Yeltsin, gave West German television viewers a more complete description of the situation than Soviet citizens have yet received here. Yeltsin said water reservoirs in the area of the damaged nuclear reactor were contaminated with radiation, that the zone around the plant was still too radioactive for evacuees to return to their homes, and that helicopters were dropping sand, lead, and boron on the crippled nuclear power reactor to cut down on radiation escape. That was not reported here. Instead, what was reported here was a Yeltsin speech to a Communist Party Congress in West Germany, saying that the Western press was exaggerating the situation. Yeltsin is a close associate of Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev. He said the Soviet Union would go ahead with nuclear power expansion plans because the accident was caused by human error, not a technological breakdown. Stuart Laurie, CNN, Moscow.
A combined U.S. military and civilian radiation detection team will be allowed to monitor radiation levels in the Moscow area. A spokesman for the U.S. Embassy says permission was obtained from the Kremlin. It's mainly an effort to reassure Americans who live in Moscow. Western diplomats say the Chernobyl plant is still spewing radioactive smoke, but those levels are diminishing. European governments are taking steps to minimize the danger from the Soviet nuclear fallout. They're advising people not to travel to Eastern Europe, and vehicles that come from that area are being thoroughly checked for radiation levels. Jim Clancy reports the situation has Sweden concerned.
Swedish officials are frustrated by the Soviet Union's continued unwillingness to give them information about the reactor meltdown at Chernobyl. Ironically, Sweden is the first country in the world to vote to shut down its nuclear power program by the year 2010. The Swedes now realize that dismantling their own nuclear reactors will provide little protection from radioactive fallout if there is an accident even 1,000 miles away, such as in this case. Energy Minister Birgitta Dahl is demanding tough agreements to ensure Sweden will be advised in the event of future nuclear accidents outside the country's borders.
We shall take initiatives to see to it, if possible, that we have such agreements for the future. But I think there is a moral obligation to anyone who has a nuclear program.
Radiation levels in Sweden, more than 1,000 times normal in some locations, are generally thought to be safe. Swedes themselves are unhappy about the situation, but believe there is little they can do about it. Cars, trucks, and even airplanes that were in the Soviet Union near Kiev are being checked to determine if they are carrying radiation back into the country. One truck driver who returned from the Kiev area this week was discovered to have levels of radiation equivalent to 1/3 his normal annual dose. Sweden is also keeping a close watch on the winds. While fallout is now being carried south of the accident site into Eastern Bloc countries, it is expected to shift by Sunday or Monday and could bring more radiation into Sweden next week. Jim Clancy, CNN, Stockholm.